Greetings. In this series, we are discussing or responding to those stupid who are attacking Islam in the West. In the last few videos, we are reflecting over a meeting between a woman named Gabriel and Jimmy Swaggart. And in this debate, in this meeting and discussion, Gabriel said that the Muslims called Christians by infidels, called Jews and Christians by infidels. And they call the US by great Satan. And Israel is the little Satan. Now, not all Muslims, that's the first thing you need to understand. She lied. Not all Muslims. She make it sound like all Muslims. No, not all Muslims. Not like that. The second thing, we need to ask why some Muslims, not all Muslims, why some Muslims think about the US like the great Satan and Israel the little Satan. In the matter of fact, Israel is an equal Satan to the US. Even worse. All right. Well, looking at the history of the US, for a few hundred years since it existed, about 40 to 50 wars worldwide. But how they started first? They started by killing the inhabitant, the Red Indians, wiping out all the nations, the Apache, the Sioux, and so on. They wiped them. They killed the Indians, those innocent Indians. They killed them because they want the land, for the land. They brought, blacks from Africa as slaves, subdued them to the worst kind of slavery, and building the country, and farming as well. They went over in a civil war over the rights of human blacks. Those blacks are human. So they went between themselves, fighting the North and the South, fighting one another, and thousands killed in the Civil War. Then they went to wars in Vietnam, in Korea, in South America. They went even, recently in our history, they went to war against Afghanistan, Iraq, They destroyed, some parts of Sudan. They helped the Israelis to destroy some parts of Lebanon. So they have launched so many wars during their short life. But still, that does not qualify to call the US the great Satan. Then what's the story? Why the US is the great Satan? That's the question that goes in the minds of some Muslims, not all of them. Because the US, as it did, in the past, it went from Europe, or the Europeans, the white European man, he went to the US and he destroyed the locals, Indians, Red Indians, and invaded the land and captured the land, colonized the land. And they did the same stupidity in recent times, in the last 67 years or 70 years. They pushed England, that was controlling Palestine, to give Palestine to the Israeli Jews. So the Israeli Jews started migrating from all over the world to Palestine to invade, to kill the Palestinians, and to occupy and colonize the land. Now who did that? It was the force of the US and England that accomplished this evil, rotten task, bringing those terrorists, Israelis, to kill the Palestinians in hundreds of thousands. This is why the US is the great Satan. Started with the Red Indians, and today we are suffering, and the Palestinians are suffering from the actions of the West, putting those stupid terrorist Israelis in the land and calling the Palestinians by terrorists. Look how things are. And why Israel is a Satan, little Satan or great Satan, as great as the US and the West? Because they came to Palestine, this civilian land, not armed land, was under the control of the Turkish for 400 plus years, and then the British after World War II. They are not armed, they are farmers and business people, harmful. They used all their power, and terrorist organizations like the Haganah, for example, to kill innocent lives in hundreds of thousands, and to kick millions of the Palestinians out, and millions stayed back, and then promoting through the world with their evil and their slaves from the Zionists in the West among the Christians. Not all Christians are Zionists, but the Zionists, among them, they started promoting a lie that, Palestine is a land with no people, for people with no land, meaning there were no Palestinians. They lied. There were millions of Palestinians in Palestine. And for people with no land, no, it is not for people with no land, meaning the Israelis. It is for people who live in the land, its owner, not those who came from all over the world. Who put them all over the world? It was God of the Jews and the Christians. According to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, start with verse 64. It was God who said, I'm going to put you from one end of the world until the other. Has nothing to do with the land of the north and Egypt. That's different. And that happened during the Babylonian slavery, or do you call it captivity? This is different. Not the land of the north and Egypt in the south. This is from one corner to another corner on earth. And he did for 2,000 years. Before the stupid West helped them to come back. Not God this time. Before it was God. Moses, Aaron, and Joshua. God was with them to bring him to the land. But this time it was the stupid West who did that. To come to kill hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. So this is why some Muslims, not all Muslims, some Muslims call the US the great Satan, and Israel the little Satan, or Satan anyway, great as the West, for this act, the crime of the 21st century against Palestinians. So this is why we respond to Gabriel and say, this is why some Muslims call the US great Satan, because the US deserved this title, also Israel. But thank goodness, Palestinians are not Red Indians, and they are fighting back. Okay, Gabriel proceeded and she said, in Qur'an, Muslims hate us too. She means Americans. Well, they don't hate me, alhamdulillah. They hate us too. Not only Jews. Means she thinks all